Inside the Magic, show number 329 for July 26th, 2011. It is Tuesday, July 26, 2011, and this is show 329 of Inside the Magic. As always, I'm your host, Ricky Briganti, and we have another great show packed with Disney and theme park news and some really special guests this week as well, and a whole lot more fun. Before we get started on all of that, I do invite everybody to visit InsideTheMagic.net. There you'll find all of our podcasts, videos, photos, news articles, and so much more. And if you ever have any news, tips, or questions, you can contact Inside the Magic by writing to me at ricky@InsideTheMagic.net, or you can call and leave a message at 407-494-4ITM. That's 4486. And now, let's get on with the show. This week's episode of Inside the Magic is brought to you by Magical Travel, the recipe for a great vacation. Walt Disney World free dining offer is back, and you can book it now for the best availability. That is, the offer ends on August 27th, so you don't have that much time, and you're going to want to call Magical Travel today at 866-207-8387 or visit them online over at magicaltravel.com to receive a free price quote. And be sure to mention Inside the Magic to receive your free Disney gift card for qualifying bookings when you book your Disney vacation with Magical Travel. And by listeners like you, thanks very much to Kelly Roberts Hansen and all of our monthly recurring donation subscribers and anybody who clicks through any of the affiliate links over at InsideTheMagic.net. It certainly all goes to support the show, and we thank you very much for that. And now we'll start off the show with our trip around the world. So it is a late show this week. In fact, it may be the first time I've ever recorded a show as late as Tuesday. We've done a few Monday shows over the years, but a Tuesday show is pretty rare, and that's because I spent the last several days out in San Diego for the San Diego Comic-Con, and I spent a little bit of time over at the San Diego Zoo as well. Had a blast, and I'll be talking a lot more about San Diego Comic-Con on this week's show. Gonna stick to Disney-related topics from the Comic-Con on this week's show, and if you're looking for non-Disney Comic-Con topics, of which there are many, then you're gonna want to head over to InsideTheMagic.net for those. But here on the podcast, we're going all Disney for Comic-Con, but we're getting ahead of ourselves because first, we have plenty of non-Comic-Con news to talk about here, and first up is a bit of Inside the Magic-related news, actually, because just before I left for my trip out to California, I relaunched a popular part of our website, and that is Theme Parks in 3D. I first launched this part of InsideTheMagic.net 4 months ago, actually, and it's where we feature 3D photos that are compatible with your Nintendo 3DS or that new, I think it's an HTC 3D phone from Sprint or something like that, or any 3D device really can view these 3D files, or if you have red and blue glasses, you could view it that way as well. Well, now I've relaunched the site to make it more friendly for mobile browsing for a cell phone or on the Nintendo 3DS. Really easy just to tap on or click on each of the photos, the MPO files as they are, and pull up the 3D photos with no downloads, no copying, none of that. It's actually very, very easy to do now. So if you enjoyed the 3D photos before, definitely go check it out over at InsideTheMagic.net/3D, or if you've never seen it, definitely see it for the first time. I've also added, in addition to making it easier, I've added literally more than 2,000 new 3D photos over there. So definitely head over there to check it out. I have some other domains that work as well. You can go to themeparksin3d.com, parksin3d.com, or even DisneyParksIn3D, or DisneyParks3D.com. That is, those will all get you to InsideTheMagic.net/3D. And there you'll find 3D photos from out here at Walt Disney World, Universal, SeaWorld, the parks in California, Disneyland Paris, and a few other special places as well, and some special events. So check it all out, and I hope you enjoy it. So now, how about we get to this week's Disney news? And at the beginning of this week, Disney announced some of its lineup that it will be featuring at the D23 Expo just a few weeks from now, roughly a month from now, actually, in Anaheim. Walt Disney Parks and Resorts is calling it the Carousel of Projects. And they're going to be showing off concepts, designs, models, storytelling tools, and technologies from all over the world in Disney's theme parks and resorts in the floor exhibit at the D23 Expo. They're going to feature all 11 of Disney's worldwide theme parks. They'll have a look at Aulani, the Disney resort that's being built and will be opening next month out in Hawaii, Disney Cruise Line, Adventures by Disney, Disney Vacation Club. Inside the exhibit, you'll see figures, props, and ride vehicles for Radiator Springs Racers, part of Cars Land out at California Adventure. Disney also says that you'll be meeting a classic Disney icon in an entirely new way. And a lot of people are thinking that what that means is perhaps talking Mickey Mouse is going to be there for everybody to interact with, but who knows? It could be something completely different from that. In addition, there'll be concepts, models, and plans for the new Fantasyland out here in Orlando. And Mickey's of Glendale, the shop over at Walt Disney Imagineering headquarters, is going to have a presence there. Normally, it's an employee-only store, and some guests can show up as well with employees, but they're going to be there selling some exclusive items at the convention. In addition, as we've said before, Walt Disney Parks and Resorts are going to be having an arena presentation hosted by Tom Staggs, the chairman of Walt Disney Parks and Resorts. That's going to be an hour and a half on the first day of the D23 Expo this year. Plus, Disney announced this week, and D23 announced, there will be smaller presentations from Parks and Resorts. They are Radiator Springs Reality, in which you can take a journey virtually through basically the behind-the-scenes making of Cars Land, and that will be with John Lasseter, so that'll be entertaining. The Making of Star Tours, The Adventures Continue, hosted by Imagineer Tom Fitzgerald. A good look at Buena Vista Street, hosted by Imagineers Lisa Girolami, Ray Spencer, and Coulter Wynn. Imagineering the Dream and the Fantasy, with Imagineers Joe Lancicero and Bob Zulk. And Legends of Walt Disney Imagineering, which is something always very, very popular amongst Disney fans. Disney legend Marty Sklar will be hosting that with other Imagineering legends, Alice Davis, Orlando Ferrante, Bob Gurr, and Don Iwerks, and special guest and current Imagineer Kim Irvine, who is the daughter of Disney legend Leota Toombs, will be there as well. Tickets are still available now over at d23expo.com. But that is not all from the D23 Expo this week. Disney Interactive Media Group also announced their involvement in the Expo just a day or two ago. They'll have on their in their exhibit on the convention floor Disney Universe, the recently announced Disney video game, multiplayer action-adventure video game. Also, there will be other games, of course, Phineas and Ferb Across the Second Dimension video game, the Cars 2 video game, and Disney Epic Mickey game creator Warren Spector will be there himself. He'll be there on August 19th and 20th, meeting with fans. In addition, there will be a Disney Epic Mickey digital painter. There will be contests for you to create some kind of artwork, and Warren Spector will be the judge, and whoever he picks as the winners will receive prize packages. Plus, there will be some stuff from Gardens of Time and Club Penguin and some mobile games. So lots of interactivity to enjoy at the D23 Expo next month. But now let's move away from the D23 Expo over to Disney's parks, specifically to Disney California Adventure out in Anaheim, where just a day or two ago, the Golden Gate Bridge that has been there since the park opened years ago has been removed. Disney announced this week, just before its removal, that it's going to be replaced as part of the new Buena Vista Street entrance to the park with a replica of the historic Glendale Hyperion Bridge, and they released a bit of artwork showing what that bridge is going to look like. The monorail's still going to run across the bridge, but it's not the Golden Gate Bridge anymore, and the new Southern California red car trolleys will pass underneath the bridge. So a very, very different entrance to Disney California Adventure in the works now. Jump out here to Florida now, where, I don't know, a month or two after the announcement, it finally has happened that Lightning McQueen from the Cars movie and Cars 2 has been added to Light's Motors Action Extreme Stunt Show over at Disney's Hollywood Studios. So if you've been awaiting Lightning McQueen's appearance there, you can now head on over to that attraction at the studios to check it out. Here's a surprising announcement related to the studios this week. Walt Disney World is no longer going to host ESPN The Weekend. Disney says, quote, they're going to focus efforts on ESPN's growing year-round presence at Walt Disney World Resort. ESPN The Weekend was first created in 2004, so it's been around for quite a few years now, but it is no more. Now it's just going to be general ESPN-ness here and there, Wide World of Sports, etc., that you'll be able to find. No one weekend special event. In the world of resorts out here at Walt Disney World, Disney's Art of Animation Resort is the newest to be under construction, and just this week Disney held a topping out party featuring, they raised a tree and a flag and had all the construction workers present, and basically this is when they reached the highest piece of construction in the project, which was part of the Lion King wing of the hotel, which is going to be opening less than a year from now. May of 2012 is when the beginning of it is going to be opening, though I don't believe the entire resort is going to be opening all at the same time, and that's located just across from Pop Century. And here's some merchandise news that I thought was kind of amusing. Everybody loves Disney ear hats. Well, Disney has now turned those ear hats into Christmas ornaments. There's going to be a whole bunch of different Christmas ornaments that will be released in the coming months as the Christmas season comes nearer. Versions of ear hats that you can hang on your tree. It'll be Dumbo and Sorcerer Mickey and Minnie Mouse, etc. A whole bunch of variations. Disney has said they're going to be open edition versions, limited edition, and of course some versions that you can only buy in the Disney Parks online store as well. So if you're a fan of ear hats and or Christmas ornaments, then that will all certainly work out for you. Now, there was some pretty big news that just came out, I think it was a couple of days ago, and it's not Disney, actually, but it's certainly a popular topic here in Orlando, and that is the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, where I just mentioned that ESPN The Weekend is no longer going to take place, and of course Disney has many other celebratory weekends, like Star Wars Weekends, which runs for many consecutive weekends. Well, now it looks like Universal Orlando is getting into the weekend celebration game with an upcoming 3-day special event called A Celebration of the Harry Potter Films. It's actually going to be hosted by Warner Brothers, and it just is taking place at Universal Orlando. It's going to feature stars from the film series, filmmakers, Q&A sessions, an after-hours party in the Wizarding World and Islands of Adventure, movie screenings of all of the Harry Potter movies. It's going to take place starting on Friday, November 11th through Sunday, November 13th, and tickets go on sale this Sunday, July 31st. Of course, they will be certainly limited and are available in, at the moment, vacation packages only, starting at $369 per person, including hotel and admission to the theme parks and all the stuff that I just mentioned, plus a Harry Potter Blu-ray set, a commemorative pin, and then there's also a premier vacation package that's $699 per person. That's $699 per person. That also includes autograph sessions, the after-hours party, and food, and a whole bunch. Universal has said that they're working on some sort of details that will involve not having to book the whole vacation package with the hotel and everything, that perhaps they'll have just, or they're working on a way to have just the locals or annual pass holders, anybody who doesn't necessarily need hotel accommodations to be able to enjoy it, but they said that will be very, very limited. They're really focusing on the vacation packages for this, so keep an eye out for that if you're interested. Again, it goes on sale at universalorlando.com/celebration this coming Sunday. And if you are a fan of Transformers, Universal is working on a Transformers ride for Universal Studios Hollywood, and that ride was the attendees at the San Diego Comic-Con just a couple of days ago got a sneak preview of that ride in a quick, maybe 30-second trailer, kind of a first glimpse at that, but that was exclusive to Comic-Con, and if you weren't there and you didn't get to see it, then, well, apparently it's too bad at the moment, because aside from a couple of bootlegged copies perhaps on YouTube, anybody who was not in that panel didn't get to see it, and that's myself included. I was off in some other panel, so I missed that as well, unfortunately, but I'm sure Universal will release that look at the Transformers ride pretty soon. And it's no secret that I'm a huge fan of Halloween Horror Nights and all of those Halloween events, and recently Universal released the first details about a haunted house that will actually be at both Orlando and Hollywood's version of Halloween Horror Nights, and it is going to be based on the upcoming Hollywood version of the movie The Thing. And The Thing hits theaters on October 14th, but just a couple of weeks before that is when Halloween Horror Nights will be starting up on both coasts. Some more entertainment was recently opened out here in Orlando as well, over on International Drive, and that is the chain of restaurants and arcades, video game arcades known as Dave & Buster's, that opened up in the former location of Race Rock. And I have a report over on the website, InsideTheMagic.net, where you can read all about D&B coming to Orlando. All right, let's get back to Disney now and jump overseas, actually to Tokyo Disneyland, where a new attraction just opened up. It is Jasmine's Flying Carpets. It's a Dumbo-style ride where you just kind of go around in a circle, similar to the flying carpets that are located in Adventureland out here in Orlando at the Magic Kingdom, but a much more highly themed area. There's some water and great scenery all around. It's a really, really nice-looking attraction that is now open at Tokyo Disney Sea. However, something will be coming to a close fairly soon, in a half a year or so. Cirque du Soleil announced this week that they are going to be withdrawing their performances, their stage show, from the Tokyo Disney Resort at the end of this year. It's the Zed show that has had a permanent theater there since October of 2008 at Tokyo Disney. However, they're saying that due to the terrible earthquake and tsunami disaster back in March, they simply haven't been able to get the ticket sales, basically. It's just not an interesting show to people with so much of the aftermath from that, so they are going to be shuttering that show at the end of the year. Let's turn to some Disney cartoon fun now, where Slash, the famous guitarist from Guns N' Roses, is now going to be appearing in cartoon form as part of Disney Channel's Phineas and Ferb. He'll be on the show's soundtrack as of August 2nd, not too far from now, as well as in the ending credits for Phineas and the Ferb Across the Second Dimension, which is the made-for-TV movie starring, of course, Phineas and Ferb, and now Slash, which is pretty amusing to see an animated version of him. And here's one very interesting and rather pricey, but also historic story to round out the news here. The Los Feliz home, built by Walt Disney in 1932, is now back on the market. It's a 4-bedroom, 5-bath home. It's a French Normandy-style home with painted ceilings, vaulted beamed ceilings, stained leaded glass, billiards room, sleeping porch, swimming pool, and of course a projection/screening room. You can only imagine what kind of screenings went on in there. Certainly some very important ones in the history of filmmaking and animation, and of course the Walt Disney Company. The house, or it's basically a mansion almost. It's $3.65 million. So unless you got some big bucks, I don't think you're going to be moving into Walt Disney's old abode. But it is on the market for anyone who might have a little extra cash out there. And that's about it for your news from around the world this week. And this week's tip was sent in from Dave from DigitalDisneyWorld.com. And Dave writes, I just got back from a Disney World vacation to have a tip for getting a preferred room. We stayed at Bay Lake Tower for 4 nights. We booked 2 nights in a Lakeview studio and 2 nights in a Lakeview 1-bedroom villa. Well, early in the morning on the day we were switching rooms, I went to the front desk to see if the room would be available. There were no villas ready at that hour, but the cast member told me that since I was there so early, about 9 a.m., I could basically pick the area I wanted for when it would become available. I was able to get a Lakeview villa that also had a great view of the Magic Kingdom. We were able to watch the fireworks right from our balcony. Although you can request a particular area when you're making your reservation, you are never guaranteed it. It looks like your best bet for getting the room of your choice is to get to the resort as early as possible. Dave, that's a very good tip. You're absolutely right. You cannot request any particular room. Well, you can't guarantee, you can't reserve any particular area or room when you make your reservation. But once you get there, of course, the cast member who's there at the front desk can check their current availability. And as long as there's nothing special related to your reservation, it is entirely possible that they'd be able to move you to an area that you would be most happy with, especially showing up nice and early in the morning. So good tip there. Everyone else out there, email your tips into tips@insidethemagic.net. And before we jump into all of the fun from San Diego Comic-Con, I do want to put in a quick word about Lanyard Lab. If you've got a business to promote, or perhaps you're attending a convention like the San Diego Comic-Con and you're looking for some great promotional items to hand out, custom lanyards will definitely get the word out about whatever it is that you're looking to get out there. Or, maybe you're at a school or a church or something. You just need to wear a name tag around your neck. All great uses for custom lanyards, and you can customize them over at lanyardlab.com. Fill out our quick and easy quote request form. We'll send you back a price quote with a proof showing you what they'll look like, and if you're happy with it all, place your order right there online. It's as easy as that. Check it out over at lanyardlab.com. That's LANYARDLAB.com. Now it is time to hop over to San Diego, California for the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con, which is a 4.5-day extravaganza. I got there this past Wednesday, and there was preview night that night, which was about 3 hours of time to explore the huge exhibition floor that is part of Comic-Con. Then following that is 4 days of overlapping back-to-back on top of each other all over the convention center, San Diego Convention Center, panels and presentations and special events and celebrities and just an endless supply of pop culture and movies and television, of course, comic books and just music and, well, not so much music, but everything you can just imagine is there. I mean, it's almost every bit of pop culture can be found in one way or another at the San Diego Comic-Con, which has been going on for decades now. Now, this year, Disney had a little bit smaller of a presence than they usually do at the Comic-Con, largely due to the D23 Expo coming up next month. The Walt Disney Studios, who are, of course, the ones who put out all the big live-action movies and the big animated movies and everything that was big movies, was not really there for Disney this time around. All of that is going to be shown off in the presentation next month at the D23 Expo. However, that does not mean that there was not plenty of Disney fun to be had at the San Diego Comic-Con, and that's what I want to run through with you here. I've got a whole lot to share. I was able to talk to some really interesting people. I was able to sit in on some panel discussions that were just super exciting, and how about we just jump right into it? And actually, I want to start with one of the most popular exhibits throughout all of the San Diego Comic-Con exhibition floor, and that was actually a booth for ABC's upcoming show, Pan Am. Now, that show is going to basically be ABC's version of Mad Men, if you will. That's actually how they were describing it right there at the booth, and it's premiering, I believe, toward the end of September. And, of course, we're talking about this because ABC is Disney's network television, and the booth that had everybody so excited at the San Diego Comic-Con was essentially a recreation of the old Pan Am flight area, boarding area, and even a cabin, and they had stewardesses there that made everybody very excited to see, and they would come over the loudspeaker, and if you waited in line long enough, or if you got a ticket, or if you said the secret word, there were many ways to get in. You had a chance to enter into the special cabin that Disney and ABC had set up on the convention floor to allow people in to experience a little bit of what this new ABC show, Pan Am, is all about. And so what I want to share for you now is actually a trip inside this Pan Am booth that everybody was so excited about on the San Diego Convention Center floor, and it was pretty fun. It gives you a good glimpse at what the new TV show starring Christina Ricci, amongst others, is all about, as well as a bit of extra kind of Disney fun. It almost took me back to Delta Dreamplay. Obviously, Pan Am is not Delta, but the attractions back at the Magic Kingdom that used to be just a whole lot of fun with flight and all of that. So now let's share with you the Pan Am experience from the floor of the San Diego Comic Con.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for flying Pan Am. Welcome to Pan Am Flight 155, flying out of JFK, New York to London Heathrow. London is not your intended destination. Let me know now before we close the gate. Make sure you close your window shades in preparation for departure and buckle your seatbelts by inserting the metal buckle into the tab. Lift the flap in order to release, and go ahead and pull on the belt to tighten. We'll be dimming the cabin lights for takeoff. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your flight. Looks like we've reached our cruising altitude of 30,000 feet. Ladies and gentlemen, we trust that you're enjoying your flight. If you'd like to direct your attention to my left or to the screens above, it's now time for your in-flight entertainment. An exclusive first look at Pan Am coming to ABC this fall. Let's take a trip into the jet age and feel the energy, excitement, and glamour of the 1960s. Most importantly, make sure to sit back, relax, and enjoy Pan Am.
Now in production and coming to ABC. Welcome to the Jet Age. In the 1960s, adventure was calling, and the entire world was just a flight away.
I want to see the world. I'll become a Pan Am stewardess.
This is ABC's Pan Am.
Pan Am is a show that's set in 1963 and it follows the lives of 4 stewardesses as they travel around the world. It's funny, it's sexy. I think it's a really original show. I think you haven't seen anything like it in television. There are actually a lot of effects. In the entire terminal is green screen. And just watching it, you're sort of whisked off to a place that is so glamorous.
Marry me!
Like you now!
Say yes! It'll make a great story!
They're really interesting characters who are probably going to get themselves into a lot more trouble very shortly. Come fly with us.
ABC's Pan Am, taking off Sundays this fall on ABC.
Ladies and gentlemen, in preparation for landing, I ask that you now return those seats to their full, upright, and locked positions and that your seatbelts remain fastened. We know you have many entertainment choices here at Comic-Con, and on behalf of myself, the captain, and the entire ground crew, we would like to thank you for choosing Pan Am. We'll have you on the ground in London Heathrow shortly. For flying with us. Please make sure to lift up your windowsills and have all of your belongings. Watch your heads, watch your step, but most of all, watch our show September 25th at 10/9 Central. Thanks for flying. Baggage tonight right out that way.
And there you have it, a look at Pan Am for coming up on Disney ABC September 25th, as you heard the flight attendants say right there on the show floor. of the San Diego Comic-Con. A very exciting little experience. The bags that they handed out at the end were highly sought after. There are actually a few different Pan Am bags that they were handing out. There was one out on the streets of San Diego where some stewardesses, some flight attendants, whatever, they were probably still called stewardesses back then when the show was set. But regardless of that, they were handing them out on the streets of San Diego leading up to the convention center, and then as you exited the plane, if you will, the cabin that they set up right there on the exhibition floor, everybody got one, and there were some special leather bags that were definitely a really hard commodity to get a hold of. Very few people got them. Everybody wanted them, and I got one of the lesser bags, but I'm still happy to have what I got. Definitely fun swag to walk away from the San Diego Comic-Con with. And, Pan Am certainly looks like a fun show. I'm not sure if it will be Disney and ABC's answer to Mad Men like they think it will be, or if it'll just take on a life of its own, but it's certainly worth tuning into and checking out on September 25th when it premieres. So let's move on to the next topic from the San Diego Comic-Con that is most definitely Disney-related as well. Now, Hall H at the Comic-Con is where the biggest presentations take place. It is a 6,500-seat, just big open area, as I said, 6,500 seats with a huge screen and a huge stage in the front, and that's where the biggest celebrities show up. And at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, one of the biggest celebrities, in my opinion, that showed up was none other than Pee Wee Herman, which, of course, in the world of Disney, Pee Wee Herman, or Paul Reubens, the actor who plays Pee Wee Herman, certainly has a connection, and that is he was the voice of Captain Rex for Star Tours, and somebody in the audience actually asked him there on the stage in Hall H at the Comic-Con all about his role and actually what he thought about disappearing from Star Tours mostly. Of course, he's still in the queue and all that, but you know what? Let's just jump right over to the San Diego Comic-Con now so you can hear exactly what Mr. Pee Wee Herman had to say about his role in Star Tours.
Pee Wee Herman.
Somebody asked a question, just like you're doing right now. Said, how do you feel about your voice being taken out of Star Tours? And I was like, what? I didn't even know.
Well, actually, you can still kind of hear your voice in the queue. Like, Captain Rex is like short-circuiting. He's like going, hi there.
Is there any good news?
My question is,
I'll tell you one thing, though, before that you didn't ask, that I'm going to tell you anyway. As long as my voice was used in the park, I had a free pass to go anytime I wanted, me plus 3 people, and I went all the time. I go all the time. Well, I was upset. You can imagine how upsetting it would be to have your voice ripped from the George Lucas ride and then have the pass ripped out of your hand, and, which I cared more about than the voice, really. But I have to say, we'll get to your question in a minute. I have a very important story I want to go over really slowly with you right now. Never mind, I forgot what I was talking about, so go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could yell out, R2, light speed to Endor.
No. What is it again? I can't remember.
R2, light speed to Endor.
R2, light speed to Endor! Thanks for asking the question. And the other thing I was going to tell you that I do, it's all coming back to me now. I got a letter about 3 months ago from a gentleman at the Walt Disney Company saying, do not worry, your pass will be good forever, even though your voice is being taken out of the park. That was an incredible thing to have happen, really. Like, you care it. Okay. Yeah, it's surprising and shocking when you say in Hollywood, yes, I'm making another movie, and people go like, oh, really? Who's producing it? And I say, Judd Apatow. People are like, oh. It's a road picture. Mr. Apatow felt very, very strongly that we make something that was similar in feel to Big Adventure. So he wanted a road picture, and that's what we're doing, a road picture across the entire country.
Hi, Pee-wee.
Hello.
I'm a big fan of yours.
What?
I'm a big fan of yours.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. I was wondering.
What do you like about me best?
And that was, of course, the Pee Wee Herman.
Lightspeed to Endor!
And while you can't hear that line in Star Tours anymore, you can still hear a bit of Captain Rex in the queue, as the person who was asking the question there at Comic-Con said. It's not quite the same as it was before, but it's still fun to hear the voice. And Star Tours, the current version, the Adventures Continue version, is a whole lot of fun to ride, even if Captain Rex is no longer the bumbling pilot, not pirate, that he was for so many years. And so on that note, we're talking about Star Tours here. Well, at San Diego Comic-Con, just walking around the exhibition floor, you can run into any number of celebrities that normally in other places, especially, let's say, Disney World at Star Wars weekends, you might have a hard time getting anywhere near. Well, you could just walk right up and talk to them at the Comic-Con. And in this particular case, I am talking about none other than Ashley Eckstein, who was the host of Star Wars Weekends this past year, and does the voice of Ahsoka Tano on Star Wars The Clone Wars TV series, and of course has her own line of clothing, Her Universe, as well, and that is why she was at Comic-Con to promote her Universe line of clothing by standing there at her booth on the convention floor for all the days, and anybody could just go up to her and talk to her, which is such one of those magical things about the San Diego Comic-Con. And so I did just that, and I want to share with you now a short interview with Miss Ashley Eckstein. Ashley Eckstein, who of course is no stranger to the world of Disney, having been to Star Wars Weekends many times. How's San Diego Comic-Con treating you?
Oh, it's great. It's busy as ever, but you know, everyone's so passionate and everyone's so excited to be here. It's to be around such a group of supportive fans and people.
So recently, you obviously were in Orlando for Star Wars Weekends, hosting the event. How did that go?
It was awesome. I mean, I am a Disney girl. I love Disney. I grew up in Orlando, Florida. My dad worked for Disney. So to me, combining Star Wars and Disney is like the ultimate dream come true. So, and then of course with Star Tours opening, I think I wrote it well over 10 times, and I got, my favorite was Naboo. Getting to go to Naboo, that was my favorite destination.
The ending of that one is the best.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. So I had a blast.
Yeah, it was great. Actually, I think I saw the first look inside Star Tours, courtesy of you and Entertainment Weekly. So that was nice. Of course, now we're out here on the other coast to San Diego Comic-Con, and you have a lot of Her Universe merchandise here as well.
Yes, we have brand new Star Wars merchandise as well as brand new sci-fi merchandise. We launched our sci-fi line with the Sci-Fi Channel. So it's really exciting. I mean, we have several new pieces, and again, the support has been overwhelming. It's been great.
So for those familiar with you at Star Wars Weekends, Her Universe is more than just Star Wars.
Yes, now we have launched a new line with the Sci-Fi Channel. We're doing Battlestar Galactica, which is got my toaster necklace. And we're doing Warehouse 13, which is Lena's bed and breakfast. We're also doing Sharktopus from Sci-Fi Original Movies. And then again, as always, it all goes back to Star Wars because of my role as Ahsoka Tano on Star Wars: The Clone Wars. Got my Star Wars charm bracelet here. And we've just got some new shirts and some great new pieces. So it's all on heruniverse.com.
Great. And will you be back for another Star Wars Weekends?
Oh, geez. Well, I would love to be. I'm always at Disney, though. Like I said, I'm a true Disney fan through and through. And so you can often find me at Disney World or Disneyland. I just went to Disneyland the other day as well.
So even when you're not working, you're still there just as a fan?
Oh, yes, yes. And when I work at Disney, it's not even considered work. I love it so much.
Great. Well, good luck here at Comic-Con, and hopefully we'll see you back out in Orlando.
Thank you so much.
And that was the lovely Ashley Eckstein, a great host for Star Wars Weekends, a wonderful person to talk to, and definitely go check out her Universe line of clothing if you know a sci-fi geek girl who would enjoy some apparel that's designed for girls but can still be just as sci-fi as any of the stuff that's designed for guys. So, moving away from Star Wars, Star Tours, into another very popular Disney property, and that, of course, is Pirates of the Caribbean. I had a really nice opportunity to sit down with somebody who had a big part in the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean film, Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. It's a movie that I truly enjoyed, and I know many others have, certainly with it crossing the $1 billion mark overseas. Or worldwide, rather, and the film has just done amazingly well. And so I actually got to sit down with John Meyer, who was the production designer for that film, a very important role, and I chatted with him all about what he did in making that film look exactly as it. You worked on the most recent Pirates of the Caribbean film?
Yes, absolutely.
And what was your role in that film?
I was the production designer.
Okay, well, that's certainly a very important role. Could you tell me a little bit more about what that means to the grand scope of the film?
Well, I have the best job on the entire movie because I get to read the script and I get to come up with ideas of what the visual look of the film would be. So, for instance, on Pirates of the Caribbean, we had a new ship, we had a new boat, Blackbeard's. And so I was the one who had the fantastic job to be able to come up with what Blackbeard's ship is going to look like. How can we make it look different than any other ship that's been in Pirates of the Caribbean? And I really like designing in terms of storytelling. So Jerry Bruckheimer and Rob Marshall came up to me and said, Blackbeard's the meanest pirate that's been in any Pirates of the Caribbean movie. So we just have to make him look bloodthirsty and gruesome and mean. And I got really excited by that. And we started trying to think of things to make ships look different. And the silhouette of a pirate ship is important to make it look different. The sails are something you see all the time. So one of the very first things we came up with was, what if the sails are blood red? I mean, Blackbeard is this butcher. And why don't we make the sails look like they're just covered in blood? So we took these beautiful sails and we just literally threw blood and entrails and gunk, and we had these beautiful, gorgeous blood red sails. We also, Blackbeard, his symbol, he was a real person. And he had a flag, and his symbol was a skeleton, a horrible skeleton, that had horns. And in one hand he had a spear to kill, and in the other hand he had a goblet of blood to toast the dead. So thought that was kind of fantastic. So we made the figurehead of the ship exactly that. So we created this actually 24-foot long, gruesome horned skeleton with this goblet toasting the dead in the spear. And then we used that whole bone and skeleton motif over the entire ship. We actually put a giant gruesome cage on the back of the ship that Blackbeard could take the people that he killed, throw in, burn them, and take the bones and then decorate the ship. So if you see the movie, you'll see the door he comes out of, which is the wall to his cabin, is completely decorated in the bones of the dead. And the other thing that was exciting was that the stories about Blackbeard was that when he went into battle, he would stick fuses in his beard and light them, so that when he went and fought, he had these embers and sparks and smoke all around him, and people just got completely freaked out because he looked like a devil. So we thought, isn't that fantastic? So we put a lot of flame on the ship. So in these skeletons I was telling you about, we actually had flame coming out of their rib cages and out of their eye sockets and out of the goblets, and put lanterns all over the ship so that when the ship sailed through at night, it was just covered in smoke and embers floating everywhere.
That's amazing. I mean, I saw the movie and I loved it, and I certainly got a very different feel from Blackbeard, from Davy Jones, from Barbossa when he was the villain of the first one. But to hear you describe all of that detail makes me want to go watch the movie immediately again.
And I'm a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I've gone to the Disneyland park every year since I was 5 years old. And Pirates has always been my favorite attraction, so it was just amazing to do it and to actually be able to be given a job to design the new pirate ship. And it's a real boat. I mean, when we put the boat in the water from dry dock where we built it, we sailed it 2 miles off the coast of Hawaii. So suddenly you're out in the middle of the ocean on this fantastic pirate ship.
Hopefully not randomly launching flames out of the front of it.
Well, we did randomly launch a few flames, yeah.
The new film is very different from the previous three. A lot of people were talking about smaller budget, smaller cast, and I still felt it the movie felt like a great pirate adventure without kind of the complexity of the second and third one. How did working with the director and Jerry Bruckheimer, in having perhaps a smaller budget, affect your ability to design for the film?
We still had a fantastic time, and it was all about storytelling. And it absolutely, when I came on the project, Rob Marshall, who I'd worked with before, Jerry Bruckheimer, who I hadn't worked with before, but turns out to be fantastic, and just was a pleasure to work, and Johnny Depp, the three of them really said, we want to go back to a more story-driven, non-visual effects extravaganza, simpler story. So it was something that the three creative heads really wanted to do, and I think it was a great idea. I mean, Johnny Depp is just the most talented actor out there. And he was able to develop the character a little more. Yeah. And he's fantastic. I mean, he's funny, and I think he had a good time doing it, being able to spend a little more time with characters. What a great group of actors. Right. I mean, if you have Johnny Depp and you've got Jeffrey Rush, you've got Ian McShane, you've got Penelope Cruz, and all the other people I'm missing, it's just a really great group of actors. So you give them a good story, and you give them good roles, and you put them in these fun costumes and on these big sets, and they just have a blast.
Since so much of this film seemed to be practically built, it wasn't all CG like in the the last couple, or a lot of it was, certainly characters and that sort of thing. Were there any particular challenges where you're designing something and you have limitations in the physical world, or was it just build everything that you wanted?
No. We actually, there's always huge budgetary concerns on every movie. We had one tricky thing that happened on us, is that we kind of went officially 3D just before we started shooting.
Oh, wow.
So we didn't go officially 3D 6 months before we started. I don't remember exactly. It felt like a few weeks before. Right. And our visual effects supervisor, who's a lovely guy, said, I have to warn everybody that these 3D effects take 3 times as long. And we had what has to be the shortest post-production in history. We stopped filming just a day or two before Thanksgiving, so the end of November, and the film was released in May 20th. So it was like a 5-month post-production, and on a big pirate movie.
Very and the previous films had to have had, at least a year of post-production?
When I got on the film, I just would have assumed it was a year. You'd never think it's not a year. So this was less than a year, less than half a year.
Right.
So suddenly the visual effects were going to take 3 times as long. There's nothing you could do. And they were going to cost 3 times as much. And there's nothing you could do. So after we had designed the whole film, and we had a number of sets that were going to be big visual effects extravaganzas, we had to rethink and relook and redesign. So we did have to redesign the film in a way that we could have changed the look of sets, but be able to afford to build environments that could contain most of the visual effects.
What do you think about shooting in 3D? Just is it a phenomenon? Is it something that's going to stick around?
I think it's something that we need to embrace more creatively. We came in a little late in it, when to make the decision at that point.
Right.
So I think it's something that you need to come in a little earlier. You're saying this is kind of a Disney-orientated site. Yeah. I just finished designing a project for Disney, which is astonishing. I hope they make it, called The Seven. And it's another live-action Snow White, but they're kind of getting away from that, where it was originally called Snow and the Seven, and Snow White is a colonial English girl in 19th century China.
Oh, wow.
And the 7 aren't dwarves, they're warriors, ancient warriors. And there is an evil queen. And so when I got on this, knowing about all the 3D of everything, I said, well, if we do 3D, could we do something really interesting? Maybe the movie is 2D until the queen comes on. And in that moment that she looks into the mirror, maybe at that point the mirror suddenly becomes a mile deep and things come out of the mirror and float over the audience. And in our story, the queen becomes more evil and she actually grows. And I thought, what if the whole movie was 2D except for the evil?
Yeah.
And that the evil actually had energy and radiated around and drifted over the audience. So I think if you could use 3D in a storytelling way like that, I think it's fantastic.
Well, Disney does a great job doing that in their theme parks, using 3D, appropriately. I think you're right that that's how it should translate to a more, enveloping experience in the theater, instead of just slap on a pair of glasses, we're going to shoot it in 3D, and it'll be the same, but with a little more depth, So, are you working for any other projects for Disney now?
Not for Disney right now.
Okay. And on the release of Pirates on Stranger Tides, I believe it's coming out on DVD in October. Can we look forward to seeing some of your production design work? Do you know in the bonus features? Or
I don't know what's going to be on the bonus feature. You end up on these movies, you end up doing a lot of walk and talks, and so there's a lot of stuff they could be able to put on. We'll see.
Great. Well, the movie's great. And one more question: what do you think about it passing the $1 billion mark worldwide?
I say it was really exciting. I mean, just to see that many people embraced it. I mean, I've never worked on a movie that was a phenomenon like that. And I have to say, when I read the newspaper that day that it had broken $1 billion, and it's now the 6th highest grossing picture in the history of motion pictures. I'm just a huge film fan. I'm a huge film fan. I'm a huge Disney fan. So to be a part of that, that's really exciting.
Great. Well, I congratulate you on your success, and I look forward to seeing more of your work. And that was John Meyer, the production designer for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, one of the many wonderful people I got to meet at the San Diego Comic-Con. He was on a panel with a whole bunch of storyboard artists and illustrators and people who just worked in Hollywood to just discuss those general sort of roles. You know, you hear about directors and producers and actors all the time, but there's people like production designers and storyboard artists and all of the, hundreds and hundreds of people who go into making a movie like Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides, and you don't necessarily hear about those people quite as much, but they certainly have a very, very important role. So it was great to have a chance to sit down with him and chat for a bit there at the San Diego Comic-Con. Now, actually, we're going to sort of retread on a recent interview we had here on Inside the Magic. A few weeks ago, we spoke with Joe Maddalena from Profiles in History and Sci-Fi's Hollywood Treasure Show about his, at the time, upcoming Hollywood auction that featured, if you remember from the interview, we were talking about an amazing piece of Disney history, which was a letter from Walt Disney to UB Iwerks, and inviting UB Iwerks to come out to California, where Disney had recently moved to, in order to essentially start what became the Walt Disney Company, a really important piece of Disney history, and many, many, many more pieces of Disney history from Imagineering and from films and animation and all of that were part of this auction, and we were just before it was about to take place when we last spoke to him, to Joe Maddalena, and I was able to catch up with him at the San Diego Comic-Con because the Profiles in History had this really amazing booth there, area, actually. It was all Back to the Future themed, and they were charging, I'm getting ahead of myself here. They had a full-size DeLorean time machine from the Back to the Future series, and it wasn't just any replica DeLorean. In fact, it was actually a screen-used Back to the Future DeLorean from Back to the Future 3, which is just an amazing sight to see. And so they were actually charging $20 to get a photo in there, but it's not just they were trying to make a buck. All of the money was going to charity, to Michael J. Fox's Parkinson's charity, which was just absolutely phenomenal. So I caught up with Joe Maddalena at his Profiles in History booth there at the San Diego Comic-Con to see how the auction turned out, how it all went, and so here is what he had to say. 2 weeks ago on Inside the Magic, we talked to you about the Hollywood auction that featured a whole bunch of Disney history. How did that end up going?
I mean, it was really good for the field because we saw a real resurgence in a collectible that kind of had died off. The most exciting thing was we had the Walt Disney letter written in 1923 to UB Iwerks, telling him to come to California to become his animator. It sold for $210,000.
Wow. So there was that. There were a few, I think, Imagineering models. There was an animatronic from Captain EO, wasn't there?
Yeah, and the animatronic Captain EO, I think, sold for $16,000 or $17,000. There was some great sells, some great setups. There was some great Ivan Earls, Mary Blairs. Yeah. I think the animation portion of the auction did about $1.2 million.
Wow.
That's good because this field is kind of, just starting to come back to life. But we've seen a lot of new people, so I think there's a lot of new collectors. So I'm really encouraged because I think the Disney Ana is a fantastic thing to collect.
It is. It's huge, and I'm sure plenty of our audience would have loved to got their hands on some of those pieces. A little bit out of the price range for most people, I would think. But you were just telling me that you've got more Disney in the works.
We're going to have another sale in November. Details will be coming. We'll let you guys know first and foremost so your viewers can learn about the sale. But again, we'll have a lot of things that are a few $100s. Not everything everything is, look, we have to have the six-figure things to get the press so we can find the buyers, but there'll be a lot of affordable things and some important pieces, so we're building them now. Our website's profilesindustry.com. I would say probably starting in September you'll be starting to see highlights, but yeah, we're excited about it. We're going to probably have 1 or 2 animation auctions a year now.
Excellent. I would look forward to that. And what are you doing here at Comic-Con?
Comic-Con this year is all about raising money for Team Fox, Michael J. Fox's foundation we're working with. We have the original DeLorean used in Back to the Future 3. This is the actual filming DeLorean, the only one in private hands. It's never been in public before. You come to Comic-Con, which is almost over. It's $20. You sit in the car, you get your photo taken. 100% of the proceeds goes to Parkinson research. So this year at Comic-Con, solely here to raise money to make awareness about Parkinson's for Michael J. Fox's foundation.
Excellent. Well, good luck with the charity, and good luck with your future auctions.
Thank you very much.
And that was Joe Maddalena from Profiles in History and the sci-fi show Hollywood Treasures, which I may have finished its current season. It's definitely in rerun, so check out that show if you are into that sort of Hollywood memorabilia and just amazing items like that, the DeLorean time machine from Back to the Future 3. Which is, as I said, screen used. Wonderful thing to see in person, along with a whole bunch of other props, and it's just great that that Joe is able to help people sell and buy all these wonderful pieces of Hollywood history, and I wish I had hundreds of thousands of dollars to blow on that kind of stuff. I most definitely don't, but boy, wouldn't that be fun. So anyway, moving on with more Disney fun from the San Diego Comic-Con. Now we're going to talk a little bit about Tron Uprising, the animated series that's going to be coming next year, 2012, to Disney XD. Now, unfortunately, there wasn't a full reveal, a full panel devoted to the topic of Tron Uprising, which is a show that I'm definitely excited to see. However, in another panel that Disney XD and Disney Channel were putting on, they did offer a little bit more of a sneak peek than we had seen previously about this upcoming animated show, and I will tell you, it definitely looks fantastic. What I was able to record for you, now I'll tell you a little bit about San Diego Comic-Con here. The studios are able to show up at this and just show off amazing exclusives for the audience who is there, but the big rule at San Diego Comic-Con is that nobody is to record anything that is shown on a screen. You can record the presentations, you can record people speaking, you can take pictures, you can do all of that, but when something is shown on a screen, that's when the cameras are supposed to be turned off, recording devices, whatever. So, unfortunately, I can't share with you the preview of Tron Uprising that they shared with us. However, I can share with you a bit of them talking about Tron Uprising, which was pretty neat to hear. Some new details about how the show is going to be unveiled. So let's go over. This is actually, I don't have this on video. It's just audio here, but I will share it with you nonetheless, and hopefully you'll enjoy this little bit of a preview of the upcoming Disney XD series, Tron Uprising.
The show we want to give you a little look at is Tron Uprising. We have in conjunction with our friends at the studio are developing a TV series that can take place in the Tron universe, sort of make use of the amazing visual aesthetic, but then customize the storytelling for our XD audience. So the first step was for us to put together a team of amazingly talented artists to pull this off, and writers. We worked with the writers from the movie. All this is under the leadership of Charlie Dean, who's the exec producer, who is co-creator so much. He has brought on an amazing crew of folks, and what you will see here is a little bit of test footage, a little bit of some of the images from the show. Our series takes place before the events of the movie, so this is after Clue has risen to power on the grid, and he believes that he has killed Tron. What we find out in the series is that Tron actually is not dead, he's just very badly injured, and he's in hiding, and he's training a new a mentee. He is a protege that he is raising to become the next Tron. That character is our new hero, Beck, who's played by Elijah Wood. And Comic-Con fans might appreciate all of his work. He's been fantastic. And this will give you a little bit of a visual aesthetic of Tron Uprising.
And this is where they began to play the preview of Tron Uprising, which I cannot share with you here. However, just after the preview ended, they did offer a few additional details about what it was all about, and I will share that with you.
The folks working on this, it's really an amazing crew. There are two artists in particular that I want to call out because I believe they are here. Alberto Diogo and Rob Valley, who are premiering this series next year with 10 micro episodes that will be unrolling early 2012, 3-minute pieces that will lead up to the series premiere in the middle of the year. So 2012 is going to be a big year for Disney XD. But we are here right now.
So there you have it. The premiere of Tron Uprising next year will be in the middle of 2012 on Disney XD. However, leading up to that premiere will be 10 3-minute mini episodes, sort of getting everybody acquainted with the world that they have set up there. And, you know, I can tell you a little bit about what I saw there. It was a kind of an extended version of the preview that has been released online and shown a few times here and there. The visual style is very much out of Tron Legacy, which I absolutely loved. You know, all the glowing suits and the city and everything. It is in that time period between Tron and Tron Legacy, as he just said from that the presentation, and it looks like it's going to be a really fun show. I didn't really get a sense for what the writing of the show is going to be like, but with the voice cast that is signed on, a lot of celebrities in addition to Elijah Wood, many other celebrities are lending their voices to the show. I have to imagine it's going to be a pretty big deal, so I am certainly looking forward to it. Now, that panel was actually, that preview was shown at the beginning of a panel for an entirely different Disney television show. And that television show is one that I had never actually seen before. It's called Kick Buttowski. Apparently, it's very popular because there were a lot of people packed into this little room at the San Diego Comic-Con, excited to get a preview of what was to come in Kick Buttowski and to see some of the voice actors who were there, who are from the show. And there was one very special guest that Disney had scheduled to be there for this Kick Buttowski panel. And well, I'll just go ahead and play this for you, and you can hear and see, if you're watching at home, exactly what happened.
It's been unbelievable. They understand Kick. They understand about competition. They definitely understand that. Mike has been a great friend of the show and fantastic to work with. He's actually ridiculously fun and very personable, and so we've been really thankful to have him and hopefully join us.
That does bring us to the fact that we have a big old empty chair here. We were very excited and hopeful for Dwight to be joining us, but I guess when you're a 5-time NBA All-Star, sometimes you can't always be in the place where we want you to be, so Dwight has expressed his regret at not being able to be here.
So typical. So typical of an NBA.
No,
yeah, I think it's fun.
This is such a surprise.
Please sit down.
Just saying, 1 hour game, I was right to his face. There he stands up here.
So, Rock Callahan, tell us what you're doing here.
Well, I am here to promote my new movie, Elm Jaywalker. You don't know? Check it out.
I've always enjoyed doing voiceovers, acting. I love kids, and I'm a big kid, and I fit right in with Sandro and Kick and Guthrie, and I'm enjoying all of this. This is a great opportunity for me to
show kids that, you can do more than just play sports. And that's why I really love the show.
And the special guest that walked in there, sort of surprisingly, was none other than NBA basketball star from the Orlando Magic, Dwight Howard. He was not entirely surprised that he walked into the room. There was an empty chair and a big standee of his cartoon version of himself. Rock Callahan, I guess, is the name of his character from the Kick Buttowski show. He does a voice there, but it was fun to see him in person. And when he walked, sort of jogged right behind me in that room, it was absolutely incredible how big and tall he is. Of course, he is a basketball player, and that should be obvious, but to see him in person right next to you as he's walking through is pretty fun. So another one of those fun little Comic-Con moments. Now I've got something that is only loosely Disney connected here, but it was somebody who I actually really wanted to meet at the San Diego Comic-Con when I heard he was going to be there. I'm a big fan of the Twit podcast network. That's Leo Laporte's network. Anyone who's an old fan of or a fan of the old Tech TV network certainly knows who he is. And one of the folks who is on that network, his name is Dick DeBartolo. He's Mad Magazine's quite possibly longest writer of all time. He's been with Mad Magazine practically since the beginning. He's Mad's maddest writer, as he's often referred to, and he is also a big Disney fan, and so I wanted to just have a chance to chat with him in person and get his take on Disney and Disneyland and so much more. So for one final interview this week, I do want to take you to the Mad Magazine section of the Comic-Con floor to speak with Mr. the Gizwiz himself, Mr. Dick DeBartolo. Dick DeBartolo, thanks very much for joining us here on Inside the Magic. What do you think of the San Diego Comic-Con so far this year?
It's amazing. I was here 15 years ago, and I thought it was nuts then. It is really crazy. But it's crazy fun. I think everybody gets to live out their fantasies.
Now, of course, you're here for a very big reason. You've been involved with Mad Magazine for many, many years. What's it like, the fan response to Mad here at the Comic-Con?
Well, the funny thing is, I had to write a little description for my spotlight on Dick DeBartolo thing, and I said, just to make sure you'll come, I'll give you something from Mad for free, because Mad sort of is not a comic, and I thought, I'm not sure a lot of fans who come here will be Mad fans, but it turned out to be very well. My thing was well attended, and then the Mad Men panel was also well attended, and DC Comics did one with the Cartoon Network, and that was packed too. So it was good.
Excellent. Now you're big into the world of podcasting, as I am. You have very popular the Gizwiz Daily Gizwiz show on the Twit Network. Are you still enjoying doing that? I guess it's become weekly Daily Gizwiz now.
Well, you really are up on this. I absolutely. If Mad had a podcast, I happen to love gadgets. I'm wearing I don't know if your camera can see, I'm wearing my Lava watch. It looks like a bracelet until you push
wow.
And then it goes into that, and then it goes into the second countdown, and then when it goes out, it just looks like you're wearing an ID bracelet.
Very cool.
Yeah, I just love gadgets, and Leo Laporte is a riot to work with. And the great thing about this is he's opening a new set of studios, high-def studios, and they pushed the date back a little so that I can fly from here to there. And Sunday, the first weekly Daily Gizwiz will be the second show they do out of that studio. So it's all very exciting weekend.
Is that in Petaluma as well?
It's in Petaluma, so I fly from here to San Francisco. That saves me going all the way back to New York and waiting a week and flying all the way back out to California.
Excellent. Well, now your sort of home of the Gizwiz is back in New York, like you said.
Oh, what we call it? Disneyland.
Disneyland.
Exactly.
And what was the origin of that name?
Well, you know what? Leo's, where he operates now for another 2 days, they call it Twit Cottage. And I have a studio, and I said, you know what? I need a name for my studio. Send in suggestions. And, people did, Gizmo Palace. And someone said, I think it should be Disneyland. So it became...
So it just kind of stuck.
It stuck, and I love Disneyland as you do, so it stuck.
And now you come out to Florida a lot. You've been to Disney World pretty recently, right?
You know, I've been there about 3 years ago. I used to cover for ABC News. I used to cover the Discover Awards. I don't know if they do them anymore, but for about 7 years in a row, they would bring me out to film it for ABC News. And every year they put you on a different property. So I've stayed at, the Beach House and the big hotel that the monorail goes.
The Contemporary.
Yeah, Contemporary. So I've pretty much stayed everywhere there. The boardwalk. I love it because it's so imaginative. Right down to the coasters, the napkins. Everything is just themed, and it's great.
Is there a favorite piece of gadget or technology that you find throughout Disney parks?
You know what? I like innovations because they always have the latest stuff.
Right, over at Epcot.
Yes, at Epcot Center. So that's sort of my favorite. And, what do I... Oh, It's a Bug's Life in 3D, where they say, ladies and gentlemen, you please stay in your seats while the bugs exit first. And then you have the effect of the bugs going under your butt. It's really great. Really great.
You can't go wrong with any bugs going under your butt.
No, bugs under your butt. I could do it all day.
Now, over the years writing for Mad Magazine, have you had a chance to do a lot of Disney parodies?
Oh, you know what? It's very funny. Right offhand, I'm not sure. I can't name a Disney... Name some Disney movies.
Oh boy! Well, you just said A Bug's Life. You got Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Little Mermaid.
Right. You know, we rarely do takeoffs on animated shorts because we're basically all you could do is sort of draw there, redraw it.
Right.
So.
But some of the live-action, maybe Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yes, we did that. I can't even remember. I've done so many movies for Mad. I cannot remember. I remember once saying to one of the writers, that's a very funny parody. And he said, I'm glad you liked it. You wrote it. And I said, no, I think you wrote it. So,
how long have you been writing for Mad?
I now hold the record of being in every issue for 408 consecutive issues.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started in high school, so I've been there, like 43 years.
Practically since the beginning.
Well, Mad started in 52 as a comic, and then a magazine in 55, and I started with in 1962 or 3. So it's more than 40 years.
Well, it sounds like you're just as busy as I am. Running around podcasting
in real life. Podcasting is not.
No. Podcasting is not my day job. I actually run a company selling custom lanyards, which is lanyards like the one you're wearing around your neck.
Oh, okay.
So that has nothing to do with anything really, but it pays the bills. But this is what I do for fun. Come out to Comic-Con, go to Disney parks, and all of that. But it certainly keeps me busy. How do you juggle all of the going on ABC and coming out here, go to boat shows and all of that?
Well, the thing is, when you're a freelancer, there is no such thing as the weekend. I try to work some part of every day, 7 days a week, and sometimes I'm lucky I can find a gadget and cycle it through everything. I do Computer America and Daily GizWiz and ABC News. Like my next spot on ABC News is gadgets for emergencies, and I'm sure some of those will be good for the Daily GizWiz. So, and you're right, it's just shifting stuff around, trying to make it work. But the neat thing is I love what I do, and that makes it easy. I don't sit at a desk.
Right.
If I get bored, I just shut the computer and go. I don't even shut the computer, I go, because my boss is really lenient. When you're your own boss.
So for anyone listening out here or watching this out there, when can they see you on ABC, or how can they find you on the GizWiz?
The easiest thing is go to gizwiz.biz, and all the stuff from all the shows I'm on is there. Or follow me on Twitter. It's /TheGizWiz. And I tweet what I do.
Great. Well, have fun here in the next couple of days at Comic-Con. Thanks very much for talking to us.
Thank you, and you have fun too.
And that was the GizWiz himself, Mr. Dick DeBartolo from Mad Magazine, from the Twit Podcast Network, and from GizWiz.biz. I've been a fan of his for quite some time. It was great to have a chance to just kind of chat for a little while. You can certainly catch him on ABC World News every once in a while, showing off the gadgets like he was talking about, and so there's your loose Disney connection with the GizWiz. All right, so that is all of the audio and the video and the interviews that I have that's Disney related to share from San Diego Comic-Con, but that is not all that is Disney related by any means, because throughout the exhibition floor at the Comic-Con there was plenty more to see and enjoy for any Disney fan attending the mega event. Marvel, of course, is now Disney, and Marvel, of course, is big in the comic book world, and they were most definitely not absent from the San Diego Comic-Con in terms of comics and a big presence. There was a huge booth on the convention floor for the Avengers. Unfortunately, this is one of the many, many things at the Comic-Con, even though I was there for 4.5 days, that I didn't have a chance to go through and actually see all of it. It seemed like it was just a bunch of giveaways that was going on in there. I don't know if there was more to it. I don't think there was actually somewhere you could go inside. It was just a lot of shirts and posters and that kind of thing, which is what a lot of the San Diego Comic-Con is all about, and there's a big crowd formed in front of the big Avengers stage all the time. That's why I wasn't able to get anywhere near it. So that was certainly some Disney fun to be found. Over at the Funko booth, they were showing off some exclusive vinyl pop figures, variations of the ones that they have released online already. There was a little Mr. Incredible, a little Mike Wazowski, a little Sully from Monsters Inc., and a little Mickey Mouse, and each had their own special variations that were exclusive to the Comic-Con. The shiny and glow in the dark and flocked and metallic, respectively. And so those were kind of fun to see. Lots of merchandise certainly to be found throughout the convention. Disney Channel had a big presence there with Perry the Platypus, which is something that's actually going to be at the D23 Expo next month. It was touring all the way across the country, started in New York and drove its way all the way around. It's an Airstream bus that has been themed to the character of Perry from Phineas and Ferb, and inside it gives fans of the show, or just anybody who walks inside, a chance to play some video games and just check out some Phineas and Ferb fun. And also nearby, they were selling some exclusive Comic-Con merchandise for Phineas and Ferb as well. So another bit of Disney presence there on the exhibition floor. Here's one that my wife actually spotted off in the corner of the Comic-Con, way off to the sides. Really, the middle area of the huge exhibition floor of the San Diego Comic-Con is where all of the big booths are. The Disney Channel one that I just saw, and Hasbro and Mattel and Fox and Warner Brothers and all of that sort of thing have their big booths in the middle. Well, off to the sides are where the smaller ones are, and way off to one side was actually a Tron Legacy pinball machine that was set up for one of the booths. It wasn't an official Disney or anything, but I did get to see it in person, and it is a pinball machine that I would love to have. The background of it, the backdrop, sort of headboard, I don't know what the official term for that for pinball is actually lenticular, so it had this great 3D looking image that's sort of like the Tron Legacy poster image, but it's got depth to it. Looked great. The game itself looked like a whole lot of fun. There was a line to get in it, so I actually didn't even have time to play Tron Legacy pinball. And thank you to Jay Menjez in the chat room, who says it's called Backglass. I love pinball, and yet I don't know the terminology. But regardless of that, it looks like a fun pinball, and if I'm going to own one, that someday, then I would have to definitely look toward owning Tron Legacy pinball. Let's see what else was on the exhibition floor. Oh, Boom Studios, who of course have been producing the Disney comic books for DuckTales and Darkwing Duck and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. They had a great booth there where they were creating custom Get-a-Sketch covers, where they would draw Scrooge McDuck or Gizmo Duck or Chip 'n Dale or whoever you wanted on a cover of one of their comics for you there. So that was pretty fun. They also had their Comic-Con exclusive 8-bit variation of the DuckTales comics, which I definitely picked up one of those. Had to get my hands on that. And also on the exhibition floor was a great gallery, if you will, of artwork from Acme, who regularly distribute a lot of Disney artwork, sort of some interesting artist takes on Disney properties, and there was a great trio of Haunted Mansion related bits of artwork there from artist Robert Farrell, who has made their variations of the stretching room from the Haunted Mansion, but with other Disney characters like Captain Hook, the Evil Queen from Snow White, etc. So those are a lot of fun. They had those amongst other Disney artwork as well. So even though Walt Disney Studios sat out this year's San Diego Comic-Con, there was definitely no shortage of Disney to be found. And if all of that wasn't enough, enough, there were also plenty of fun costumes from attendees who were at the convention. And, really going to San Diego Comic-Con, that is one of the most fun things to do is just to watch people walk by in their crazy elaborate costumes. While sitting around at the convention, I saw a guy dressed as Captain EO, complete with a vintage fuzzball sitting on his shoulder, which was a good touch there. I just mentioned that Disney and Marvel are now one in the same company, but not everybody's necessarily happy with that. However, I did see at one point a gathering of Ariel, Little Mermaid, an attendee dressed as Ariel, along with somebody dressed as Johnny Depp's version of the Mad Hatter, which is a Disney film, and they were conversing with a row of X-Men, which are Marvel. And shortly thereafter, I witnessed Ariel give Rogue from X-Men a nice hug. So I thought that was kind of a symbolic gesture between Disney and Marvel, even if it's unofficial and just taking place on the Comic-Con floor. But that was kind of fun. I also ran into a Captain Jack Sparrow that was a striking resemblance to Johnny Depp at one point. And apparently I learned afterward, after posting the picture online, that he is actually one of the photo doubles from the Pirates of the Caribbean films. He would be used for really long shots where, they wouldn't need Johnny Depp to be there. They would dress up this guy as Captain Jack Sparrow because he looks a whole lot like Mr. Johnny Depp. So very impressive there. Of course, back to Tron, somebody was dressed up like Kevin Flynn with the whole reflective outfit, head to toe, and he encouraged me to use a flash when I took a picture of him so that I would make sure that his reflective the areas of his costume glowed in the photo that I took, and I did, and it most definitely did. Elsewhere in the convention, I saw a really excellent Darkwing Duck costume, which was really fun to see. No duck bill on this costume, but the colors were perfect and had yellow boots in place of fins, duck fins or feet or whatever they're called, and had a gas gun and everything. This girl did a really amazing job being Darkwing Duck. Excellent costume. Caught right around the corner from there, I caught a really funny moment in the middle of the floor, lying down, planking, if you will, was Winnie the Pooh. One of those sights that only at San Diego Comic-Con would you catch Winnie the Pooh holding a sign saying, "I need honey," wearing a backpack, planking in the middle of the floor. Moving on. Let's see, what other great costumes did I see? Caught a great Russell from Up. A guy who was most definitely not a kid, but he was definitely a heftier guy, fit the role very well. I saw, somebody was dressed as Zero from Nightmare Before Christmas. That was a lot of fun. Not too often, you see some Jack Skellingtons around, you see Sally around, but not too often you see somebody dressed as Zero, the ghost dog. And then one of my favorite Disney-related costumes to round out this little conversation about costumes was none other than Dr. Teeth from The Muppets. Another fun costume there. So, just walking around the San Diego Comic-Con and just watching people go by is just a wonderful pastime that certainly made several days of being there a whole lot of fun. Now, out in the streets of San Diego, there was a lot of entertainment to be found as well. A lot of re-themed restaurants and bars and that kind of thing to fit, usually sci-fi and movies. And there was Cowboys and Aliens, Lounge, and things like that. But one area was actually a Chuck Jones gallery, and I'm sure a lot of Disney animation fans are fans of Chuck Jones as well. Back with Roadrunner and Pepe Le Pew and all of that sort of thing. And I noticed off in the corner of this gallery, I managed to find a little bit of a Disney reference there as well. It was this wonderful picture, not the original, but it was a picture that featured Walt Disney and a note that was written by Walt Disney on there. Again, it was a reprint, but it says, "To Chuck, fight on for old Cal Arts." And then it's signed Walt at the bottom. Really fun picture there. Just displayed in this gallery. So a lot of, little bit of Disney tidbits to be found throughout Comic-Con. Again, even without the official big Hall H presence, still plenty of fun to be found there. So anyway, there was so much more to share from San Diego Comic-Con. I've gone on and on and on and on about all the little bits of Disney that I found, but there was so much non-Disney to be found as well, and I have been posting recaps over at InsideTheMagic.net about all of that as well, so you can see highlights, certainly photos day by day that I'm working on. So far I've posted up until this point preview night and day 1 and day 2. I'll be working on day 3 and day 4 photo reports from the convention shortly, and then I'll be posting all of the videos that I included this week on the show individually on the website and on YouTube, as well as a whole bunch more from other non-Disney panels, from Penn and Teller doing a magic trick, and Mike Judge hosting a Beavis and Butthead panel and doing a voice there. And by the way, the new Beavis and Butthead that's coming back to MTV, absolutely hilarious. If you were a fan of the old one, you're just going to die laughing with the new one. But that's another topic for another time. What else am I posting there? I don't know. It's just an insane amount of Steven Spielberg accepting his Inkpot Award and getting a surprise and a wonderful moment there, and it goes on and on and on. So keep checking back if you're interested in more. San Diego Comic-Con is just too much to include here on the podcast, but definitely plenty over at InsideTheMagic.net that I will continue to share in the coming days and possibly weeks, because there is so much. One final note from the world of Disney at Comic-Con that I personally did not attend, but I read about. There was a panel discussion between Jon Favreau and Guillermo del Toro, both of whom are working on films for Disney. Jon Favreau is working on, he has worked on a bunch of Marvel stuff, but he's also working on now that Magic Kingdom movie. And then Guillermo del Toro last year at Comic-Con announced that he was working on a Haunted Mansion movie, with him being a huge Haunted Mansion fan. And it was briefly mentioned apparently at the panel about each of those, and del Toro said he's certainly interested in making it a fun, scary movie without any stupid comedy with Eddie Murphy and all of that, but he didn't really get to go into too much more about the current status of the film, so it seems like it hasn't really moved in any way much since last year, or at least any way that he was willing to talk about, but it's still out there. He didn't say it was canceled or anything, so we'll have to hope for the best that del Toro will continue working on that, the good Haunted Mansion movie. So there it is, my recap from the old San Diego Comic-Con for this year. Again, head on over to the website InsideTheMagic.net to get so much more Disney and otherwise from the convention.
There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
And I think we are going to call an end to show 329 there. We're almost at an hour and a half. We'll just go ahead and skip listener feedback this week, and but we'll definitely get into it next week, because I do have a backlog of emails, and I'm sure, much to the dismay of anybody who's in the chat room right now, if you want to ask some questions, maybe I can hold them for next week. But regardless of that, we'll wrap it up here, and we'll include all the listener feedback next week on the show, because it is getting rather late on this Tuesday edition of Inside the Magic. So I do want to thank all of you for tuning in. Thanks to everybody out there in the live video land, chat room land. I didn't mention at the top of the show, but we are live once again this week, even at this late hour, over at InsideTheMagic.net/live. So hopefully everybody has been enjoying that. I want to thank Magical Travel for sponsoring this week's episode of Inside the Magic. You can find out more about their services by visiting magicaltravel.com, and also be sure to visit us over at lanyardlab.com to see all of the different styles and custom lanyard options that we have available. You can request a price quote today to receive a free digital preview of your lanyard design. And check us out over at InsideTheMagic.net. Between episodes of the podcast, it is your source for Disney and theme park news, and lately San Diego Comic-Con news as well. You'll find links to follow us on Twitter and Facebook and on YouTube, and then also just to keep up with all the latest fun from theme parks and beyond throughout each week. So once again, thanks to all of you for listening each and every week. Coming up this Sunday, we'll resume our regular schedule. Even though it's only a few days from now, we'll see if there's, I'm sure there'll be enough news to cover, and I always have plenty more to share. Still have a backlog of interviews from when I was out at Disneyland a few weeks ago that I have to share. So lots more to come that I look forward to sharing with everybody. So once again, thanks to all of you for listening and watching each and every week. Have a magical week. Bye.
Shining at the end of every day. There's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Just a dream.